Hi guys, welcome to today's lesson. So today we are going to focus on using equations to try and solve real world problems, right? So this is about solving word problems. That's the main thing that we are trying to do. But before that, remember, we always have a leading question that is going to lead our discussion in this particular lesson. So let's have a look at that, and then we'll get into what is it that we're going to focus on and try to do everything that we need to do together. I hope you have your pen and paper to take down all the notes that are necessary, and then always make sure that you also have a glass of water so that you can always refresh now and again. But for now, let's have a look at what we need to do. So, have you ever thought about how can you use equations to solve real problems? So when you talk about real problems, we're talking about, you know, those problems when they say the father is 3 times the age of the son and the mother is 2 times the age of the daughter, then that's what I'm talking about here. But we'll have a look at some examples just so that I can make this to be more understandable. Remember, algebraic equations, we have different types of them: linear, quadratic, cubic, hyperbolic, exponential, and literal. But at the moment, we're going to focus on linear and quadratic, and we'll throw in some literal equations then there. The main thing we are focusing on is actually solving problems. Now, the key words here, as simple as they seem, these are the very big words that we're going to be trying to decipher and try to look at when you're looking at a word problem. Product, quotient, sum, difference. When they say to you the product of the age of the son and the daughter is equals to, then you need to know what do they mean when they say this is a product. When they say the quotient of the age of maybe the father and the son is, then you must know what do they mean when they say quotient. But I do know that you guys are familiar with these terms because we've used them before. Remember, product is multiplication, quotient is division, sum is addition, difference will then be subtraction. So please make sure that you do understand this, because we're going to be using only these terms to go forward most of the time. But other terms as well we'll be throwing in there, but I will highlight all the important things as we're going along. So the strategy for solving word problems, firstly, you need to make sure that you read the question and extract information. Without you reading the question and extracting what you think is important, you will not be able to solve the problem. Because remember, here it's all about language, right? They give you a sentence of maybe 4 lines and you need to try and analyze it and break it down into mathematics. And then one most important thing that you can always try to do is to draw a sketch of what they are saying and then state what the variables are. So you're going to assign certain things. Maybe with the age example that I've been talking about, we'll say the age of the father is X, the age of the son is Y. You see, so you allocate variables accordingly. Then lastly, you write the expression for each variable. If I said twice that, it means it's 2x. If I said 2 more, then it's x plus 2. You see, so it's those things that you'll be thinking about as you are trying to solve this. Let's look at a typical example now. This one says the length of one side of a rectangle. So there is one side of a rectangle is 5 units longer than the length of the other side. Immediately I know that. It means if one side is 10 units, it means the other side will be 15 units, right? If one side is 100 units, it means the other side will be 105 units, because there's a difference of 5 in between them. The perimeter, which is the most important thing here, is 90 units. Remember, perimeter is the sum of all the lengths of your shape at the time. So the question here is find the length of both sides. So I want to know what is the longest side and what is the shortest side. So firstly, I'm going to call the longest side the shortest side rather x, and I will call the longest side x plus 5. Because they said 1 is x and 1 is 5, more than that. Now remember, perimeter is the sum of all of them, right? So that's what we are going to use to try and solve this question. So I know I will say P is equals to x plus x plus x plus 5 plus x plus 5, right? So there's 4 sides here. It's the x plus 5 twice, and it's the x twice. So that's what we need to add in order to get this 90 units that they gave us to be the perimeter. So this will definitely be 90 there is equal to, then I look at how many x's I have here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that gives me 4x. And then the 5 plus the 5 will give me plus 10. Then I must solve for my x there so that I know what x is, and then I will substitute it into my diagram. So it means this will firstly be 90 minus 10 is equals to 4x. And then to solve this, I will have 90 minus 10 will be 80 equals to 4x. Then I need to divide both sides by 4, so that will give me 20 is equals to x. But now I need to just write this in standard form, right? So I will say this is x is equals to 20 units. So you don't then introduce centimeters or meters if they did not say anything about those. So what do I know? I know that length 1, I will just call it L1, is equals to 20, and then length 2 is equals to 20 plus 5, which is then 25, right? So that's what I will then have there as my answer. Now, also, if they now say the difference in length between 2 sides, right? Immediately, it's the difference in length. It means it's x minus y of a rectangle is 20 units. So this is given to be 20 units. Then the area of this particular rectangle is 800 units squared. So we need to find the length. So I will be using x and y most of the time because that's what really we are used to. So it means if I have this as x here and that as y there, I know that my x minus the y will be equals to 20, right? But then I think I must rewrite it in another way so that it shows which one is longer. Remember, the y will be the longer one most of the time. So it will be y minus x is equals to 20, right? So what do we know about this? If I want to make y the subject of the formula, it will be y is equals to 20 plus x. Why am I doing this? It's because, remember, the area of a rectangle is length multiplied by breadth, right? So my length here will be the longest side, which I said was y, right? So y is the 20 plus the x as I've just solved it, and then I still have my x there. So my length will actually be 20 plus x, and my breadth will then be x. And they told me that this is equals to 800. I must solve for x. To do that, I must multiply that by distributing. So this becomes 800 is equals to 20x plus x squared. And then I will just write it here, x squared plus 20x minus. So I'm going to take the 800 to that side, which will be minus 800 is equals to 0. You must solve for x there in order to know what this is. So I'm going to open 2 brackets there. Now I'm just going to, so that for time's sake, I'm just going to use this on the calculator here. So on my calculator, inside the square root, this is going to be 20 squared minus 4 into 1 into the negative 800, and this will give me 60. So already it means I have 60, so this is going to be, why am I doing this? It's the same as me just saying minus 20 plus 60 over 2 and minus 20 minus 60 over 2. You don't really need to do this. This is just me trying to do my own mental math, but you can just use a calculator. So this here will give me 40, and this here will give, or this will give me 20 rather, and this will give me 40, right? So it will be negative 20 plus 60, which is 40 over 2, and that will give me 20. So it will be x, there's a 20 there, and this will be x, and plus, it will be 80 divided by that will be 40. Right, and then I solve this, it means x is equals to 20. I will not take the negative 1 because we can't have a negative length. It means y will therefore be equals to 20 plus 20, which is equals to then 40. All right, so that's what I then have there. So the main thing here, guys, is to always allocate a specific variable to the question that you are given. Make sure that you understand the terms that are being used, and then set up an equation or an expression and then solve it accordingly. From me to you, let's just take a quick ad break, and we'll be back with some more examples to look at together, and then we'll see whether you guys understand this or not. I'll be back just now. Hi guys, welcome back from the ad break. I hope you guys tried to look at everything that we've done thus far, and you've actually saw some light there on what we've done, right? But now I'm going to do some questions that I adapted from the Siyavula platform that is found online, right? So you can always go check it out. It has very nice questions that you guys can do. Remember, I said you need to consult everything that has mathematics, because at the end of the day, maths is the same throughout. So it's not really about where you get the maths, it's about the maths itself. So these questions are adapted from the Siyavula platform, just so that we can see different perspectives of how do they ask these questions. So let's have a look at them. Now, the very first question, as I said, I've adapted it from the Siyavula Maths grade 10 platform online, that is. It says the sum of 23 and 16. So if I add 23 plus 16, already I know that, is equal to 73 more than an unknown number. So already you know that there is an x there, right? So this, the 23 plus the 16, we are being told that it is 73 more than. So it will be x plus the 73. I want to start with the x. Why? Because it is 73 more than. So it means if I know what x is, I must add 73 to it in order to get that particular sum that we are talking about. And then the question is, find the unknown number. To do that, already I've set up my equation, right? So the unknown number, I've let it to be x. You don't need to say let it be x, because already there is an unknown. And under mathematics, most of the time when you have an unknown, we use x for that. So to add on the left-hand side, I will have 23 plus 16, which will then give me 39. And this will be equals to x plus 73. I'm just going to swap them around without changing anything, just so that I can work it out on a normal basis. So this is the same as x plus 73 equals to 39. So I didn't change anything. I just wrote them in the way that we are kind of used to. So to work out this, I will say my x is equals to 39 minus 73, which I will then need to work it out, right? So this will be x is equals to. So this you can take it as the same as 73 minus 39, right? But the answer must always be negative. So that is actually going to give me 46. So the answer here will be 46, but a negative one. Let's just verify that my answer is correct. Remember, it's 39 minus 73, which is 34, not 36. Okay, so this is actually supposed to be our subtracting 29. So this is supposed to be 46. Okay, so this is negative 34. Sorry about that. All right. So that will therefore be my answer here of what I need to do. The next question says the product. Remember, I mentioned that these words are important, so you need to know them, please. This means multiply. And please look at the difference between my multiply and my x, right? Because there is a difference. Of two consecutive integers, negative integers, is 3,306. Then we want to find those two integers. What does this mean? It means that if I have maybe, we're still gonna use x and x plus 1, right? The product of these two consecutive means one is one more than the other. So this one here, let me highlight it for you. This one is one more than the previous term. That's what consecutive means. So if I say 1, 2, 3, so 1 and 2 are consecutive to one another. Why? Because 2 is one more of the previous number that we had. So that's why I'm just making it plus 1 there. And we are told that this is equals to 3,306. Now I need to find what x is so that I know what my two numbers are. So this is actually going to be x squared plus x equals to 3,306. I will take everything to one side, plus x minus 3,306 equal to 0. I will need to open two brackets. So remember, I'm gonna go back to my mental maths again. By the way, okay, let me actually show you with this one, right? How to then find the factors, because then I'm doing this mental maths, but I know how to do it. So if you do not know, then it becomes a problem. So let me just show you how do you do that. On your calculator, you will press the number that you want to get factors of. That's 3,306, an equal sign, and then you'll press shift and this button that has some apostrophes, I think, at the top there. And this still gives me 3,306. So I think, okay, this calculator does not seem to have what I want us to talk about. So I'm just going to do it my way. But I will show you at the end of the day how to actually look at it. So remember, this formula is going to be minus b. So that's minus 1 plus, let's just quickly check whether this will give us what we want, squared minus 4. We call this a quadratic equation, by the way, to solve equations that are too big or that we cannot factorize. And this will be divided by 2, and this will give me 57. And then if I change this and make it a minus, it will then give me negative 58. All right. So it means that I got two answers, right? X was equals to 57 and x was equals to negative 58, right? That means this is the same as x minus 57 and x plus 58 equal to 0. Now, guys, when we do our quadratic equations, right, there is something we call a quadratic formula, just so that I can give you what I was busy doing here. And the formula is normally given by minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, right? So this is just the formula I've just used on the calculator to try and find the two answers that I need to find. So you can always consult it, but if you can factorize this, then just go straight to factorizing. Now remember, they told us that these two integers are negative, right? It means I must take the negative answers here and not the positive ones. So x will be equals to 57, or x will be equals to negative 58. It means, therefore, x is equals to negative 58. That's the answer that I want. Now, the consecutive number to this will be x plus 1, remember, which is the same as negative 58 plus 1, which is equals to negative 57. So my answers are negative 58 and negative 57. And you know on the number line, they do follow each other. Then the last question now is the diagonal of a rectangle is 25 centimeter more than its width, right? So I'm just going to go to the next slide where I actually have the diagram to show you. Now, if I draw my diagram quickly of this, right, I will have that there. So they're saying the diagonal of this is 25 more than its width. The length is 17 more than its width. So the length will be this one, which is 17 plus the width, and this will be 25 plus the width, and this will be the width. You see? And then from there, what do we want? We want the dimensions of this. Already you know that a rectangle has a 90-degree there, so I'm going to use Pythagoras theorem. So this will give me 25 plus w all squared is equals to w squared plus 17 plus the width all squared. So the only thing I have is w that I'm going to use to find all the dimensions. So to do that, I will find what this is. So 25 squared is the same as 5 there. So this is 225 rather. 225 plus 50w plus w squared. I'm just foiling out, guys. I'm not really doing anything that you are not familiar with. Then plus, so my 17 squared quickly, 17 times 17 will be 289. So I think my 25 squared is actually 625, yes. So not 225, this is 50. All right, so this is 625, and now I forgot what the answer for 17 was. Multiplied by 17 was 289. So this was 289 plus 34 w plus w squared. And then you can quickly work out what this is. The w and the w will be 2w squared. You subtract 1. So it means I'm going to have w squared minus w squared minus w squared, and plus the 50w minus 34w plus my 625 minus the 289 equal to 0. Then quickly, just if you want to simplify this, w minus w will be 0, so I'll have a negative w squared. 50 minus 34 will then give me 16, so this will be plus 16w, and then 625 minus 289, this will be 336, right? So plus 336 equal to 0. And then from there, you can then simplify this, right, by finding the factors. Now, I'm just going to leave it here. But before I do that, let me quickly show you. This will be w squared minus 16w minus 336 equal to 0. And then you can then simplify this by opening two brackets, which will then assist you in finding all the dimensions for this particular problem. All right, guys, that's it from me. I hope you've been enjoying and you are still going to enjoy as we come back from the ad break. But for now, I want us to take a quick ad break and I'll be back with some more. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back from the ad break. So we are still looking at solving problems, right? Using quadratic equations or linear equations. But now, what happens when now I have two unknowns that I need to solve at the same time? So you saw with the previous problems that we've been looking at, they all look at trying to find one unknown first and then only finding the other unknown later, because they have a relationship that is a bit easier to understand. But now if there is two relationships, right, that we need to be thinking about, how do we then solve this, right? This is then called simultaneous equations, which is what we're now looking at now. I know it sounds scary, but I'm sure you guys have actually experienced this before, and we can then just refresh some memory on that. So let's have a look at it. So when you talk about simultaneous equations, this is when you have two equations, that relate two different variables to each other, that you solve these equations simultaneously, so one after the other, right? But what the simultaneous really means is your solving depends on what you do with one variable at that time. Most of the time, we use either the substitution or the elimination method to then solve the equations, right? If both of them are linear most of the time. But if they are not linear and it's a quadratic, I will always say go to the substitution method. The elimination is mainly only when it's a linear equation that you have. But this one will be when it's a quadratic equation, right? Now, with the substitution method, what this simply means, if I have A plus B is equals to 5, right? And I have 3A plus maybe 2, actually let me not use 2B, let me just use B, plus B equals to 8. These are linear equations because the exponents here are all 1. The A has an exponent of 1, B has an exponent of 1, even with the other equation. So I can just use elimination method here, right? So this, I will use the elimination method. With the elimination method, I will say, let's take maybe the first equation, which is the one equal to 5, and subtract the second equation. If I do that, it will be A minus 3A, which is negative 2A. B minus B, it vanishes because it gives me 0. It is equals to 5 minus the 8 will give me negative 3. And then you see, I only have one variable. That's why this is called simultaneous equation. Or if now I have A is equals to B plus 5, and I have maybe A squared plus 3B is equals to 2. You can already see here that I cannot use the elimination method because the elimination method depends on me cancelling one of the variables, either using subtraction or addition. So I will then use the substitution method here. What that means is I will take this equation here, which is the first equation, and substitute it there, meaning wherever there is A, I will then plug in B plus 5. So that will be B plus 5 all squared plus 3B equals to 2. So now you can see I have only one variable. So these are just the two methods that I'm talking about. But substitution, the great thing about it is you can use it even if the equation is a linear equation. But elimination, only when it's a linear. If it's quadratic, you really cannot use elimination. Now, one question again that is adapted from the Siavula platform for grade 10 says that in total, there are 7 vehicles. Now remember, a vehicle can mean a lot of things, right? A motorbike is a vehicle, a bicycle is a vehicle, a car is a vehicle, a bus is a vehicle on the shop floor. Now the salesperson counts that there are a total of 19 wheels on all these vehicles. So on all these vehicles, no matter what the different vehicles are, there's 19 wheels that you're gonna count. Now you need to determine firstly how many motorbikes, remember motorbikes have 2 wheels, and how many tuk-tuks there are. And the tuk-tuks are normally those delivery cars that have 3 wheels, 2 at the back and 1 in front. And then a motorbike has 2 wheels. I'm just giving you an additional statement there. And a tuk-tuk has 3 wheels. So far what do I know? Let's go back. Let's go this side. So the tuk-tuk, I know that has 3, as I just said. Motorbike has 2. So I'm going to let the motorbike to be X, and I'm going to let the tuk-tuk to be Y. So I will quickly just say, let X equals to the motorbike, right? And then I will say, let the Y be equals to the tuk-tuks. Now, I know that I said with the previous ones, you don't necessarily need to be saying that let this be the case, let this be the case. But here now you are dealing with 2 different variables that you do not know. Remember the previous one I was saying the length of this is twice the other length. It means they both X, right? But one must be 2 times that, or one must be 5 plus that. So it is always the same thing. But now here, I'm dealing with 2 different things. So I need to specifically say which one must be X, which one must be Y. And then I can solve from there. So let's have a look at it. Now, what do I know? I know that in total, there are 7 vehicles, right? It means that X plus Y is equals to 7, right? The number of motorbikes plus the number of tuk-tuks must equal a 7. The number of wheels is going to be the motorbike is 2x, right? Each bike has 2 wheels plus the tuk-tuk has 3 wheels. So, and this must give me a total of 19 wheels. And then I will use, already you can see they are both linear, so I can just use the elimination method. To use the elimination method, I must make one variable to be the same with the other, right? So I'm just gonna multiply this by 2, right? So I'm firstly getting rid of the x, and then I will solve y, and then at a later stage work out what I want. So if I do that, this becomes 2x plus 2y equals to 14, and this is 2x plus 3y equals to 19, right? I've just rewritten the other equation as is, and then I'm going to use subtraction here. The first equation minus the second equation, so that will give me 2x minus 2x is 0. 2y minus 3y will give me negative y equals to 14 minus 19 will give me negative 5, and then it means that I have y is equals to 5. What does this mean? It means that I have 5 tuk-tuks, right? So for tuk-tuks, I have 15 wheels. The other one, automatically, you know that it will mean that I have 2 motorbikes. But to do that, you can use this original equation here. So you'll say x plus 5 equals to 7, then x will be equals to 2. Then you will conclude motorbikes are 2, and then the tuk-tuks are 5. In total, they said there is 7 of them, and 2 multiplied by 2 gives me 4 wheels, and 5 multiplied by 3 gives me 15 wheels. In total, they said there is 19 wheels. So that's just an extra thing that I'm just showing you so that you understand how to do this. Firstly, make sure you understand that vehicles does not necessarily mean cars, because I know that most of us, when you think about a vehicle, you think, it's a car or it's a bus. No, a vehicle can even be a bicycle or a tricycle, right? Or a quad bike. It can be anything that has wheels. We call it a vehicle. Now, firstly, you let the one vehicle to be a certain variable, the other one you assign it another variable, and then you set up your equations. I know the total must be 7, so when you add them, it must be 7. I know the number of wheels, it means when I multiply each with the number of wheels, I must get 19. So I do that as well. And then it gives me 2 equations. Then I have a simultaneous equation, which is a very beautiful thing to actually do. Guys, I hope you are enjoying maths. I'm really having so much fun here. But for now, let's take a quick ad break and we'll be back with some more questions to look at. Hi guys, welcome back from the ad break. So now we are on our last segment for the show. We are actually going to look at 2 more questions that involve simultaneous equations. I promise you, these ones will look a bit complex, but I'm gonna try by all means to go through them as slow as possible and as easy as possible for you to understand them. So please do pay attention. Whatever that I say and I write, try to also write it down so that you can understand at a later stage when you're referring to your notes, right? But let's look at them. Both the questions are still adapted from the Siyavula platform. So, now this says a group of friends is buying lunch, right? So there's a number of us and we want to buy some lunch. Now, here are some facts about their lunch. They did not tell us how many people are there. They just told us that it's a certain number of people. So, because I don't want to be confusing you, I'm just going to let the pizza be P and I'm just going to let the burger be B, right? So I'm just going to use P and B so that at the end it's easier for us to see what we are talking about. Now, a pizza costs 7 Rand more than a burger, right? So it means if a burger is 20 rands, then a pizza will be 7 rands plus the 20 rands, right? The group buys a total of 8 pizzas and 2 burgers. The total cost is then 326 rand. We need to find the price of a pizza and of a burger. So remember I said we're going to let this be P, we're going to let this be just B, right? That means the first statement, a pizza costs 7 Rand more than a burger. It means that the pizza will be equals to a burger plus the 7 Rand. Right? So that's what we are actually being told here, that if I want to buy a pizza, I must add 7 Rand to the price of the burger. So that becomes P is equals to B plus the 7. Now, what else do I know? I know that they bought 8 pizzas and 2 burgers for a total of that. So it means 8P plus the 2B will then give me a total of 326 Rand. So they spent a total of 326 Rand, right? So you can already see that one variable is the subject of the formula here. So I can just quickly use what? Use the substitution method, right? I'll just say use substitution method. Now, using the substitution method, wherever I see P, I'm going to substitute the B plus the 7. So this will be 8 into B plus 7 plus 2B, and this will be equals to 326, right? 326, not 66. So 326, and then you can now see that I only have the burger as part of my question. Then I want to solve for B. At a later stage, I will substitute it in order to get what P is, right? So to do that, this will then be 8B plus the 8 multiplied by the 7 there, which will then give me, let me quickly just verify that, 8 times 7 will give me 56, yes. So this will be 56, then plus the 2B is equals to the 326, right? And then I add my like terms. This will give me 10B is equals to 326. Why am I writing 6 again? 326 minus the 56, right? And lastly, I will have 10B as being equals to, if I minus, if I minus 56 from 326, it will then give me 270. But just for us to be sure on what we are doing, I will just press it quickly for you. Minus 56, it will be 270, yes. And then to solve for B, I will substitute both sides by 10. So I will have B is equals to 27, right? So 270 divided by 10 is definitely equals to 27. So that means the cost of a burger will then be the 27 rand. But because we know that the pizza costs 7 rand more than that, we will then need to add 7 rand to that in order to make sure that we get the prices correct. So I'm just gonna go, here quickly. So it means the pizza will be equals to 27 rand plus the 7 rand, which will be equals to 34 rands. Now, I just want us to verify whether what we've done so far is correct. By doing what? By substituting it back here, right? So that I can get the 326 that they spent. So that means I will then say my pizza, they bought 8 of them, and that is multiplied by the 34 rand for each, plus they bought 2 burgers, which go for 27 rand, and this will give me 326 rand. So you can see it means we did the right thing there. Now, another question as well says 2 jets are flying towards each other from airports that are 1,200 kilometers apart. One jet is flying at that particular speed, and the other one is flying at that particular speed. If they took off at the same time, now the very most important thing here is that they took off at the same time. How long will then it take? So how long, we already know. They want us to find the time for them to pass each other. So when they pass each other, it means that the distance that they would have traveled will be the same for both of them. That's how we can get this, right? So the distance that each jet travels, because remember they are 1,200 kilometers apart. This one here, the distance that it is going to travel and the distance that this one is going to travel, they need to be equal in order for these things to then meet at a certain point, right? That's what we are looking at. Not the time, because remember they traveling at different speeds. So we couldn't talk about the time being the same. No, the distance must be the same. And remember, distance is given by speed multiplied by time. Remember when you did your rate in the earlier grades, this is where we are going to use that. So it means that for jet 1, I will say the distance is equals to the speed multiplied by the time, and the speed and the time. So I know that the speed of jet number 1, where is it again, is 250. I will use that one. So this is 250 multiplied by time, right? And then for jet 2, I will have D is equals to, again, speed multiplied by time. So that becomes 350 multiplied by the time, right? But what do I know? I know that D1 plus D2, right? Let me call this D1, that D2. They must give me 1,200, right? So that's what I know. So in simple terms, I will then quickly say D1 is equals to, remember, 250 multiplied by T, and D2 is equals to, where is it? 350 multiplied by T. If I add these two, I must get 1,200. So I will say D1 plus D2 is equals to 1,200. D1 was 250 T plus D2 was 350 T, and this is equals to 1,200. Now, this is just basic algebra, right? I must take out a common factor on one side, which is the left-hand side, and that will be T into 250 plus the 350. By the way, you can just do this also by adding the two numbers, 250 plus 350, which is 600, right? So this will be T into the 600 is equals to 1,200. And then lastly, I will know that my T will be equals to 2, right? Now remember that the speed here was in terms of kilometer per hour. So that means the how long part, although they did not represent it to say what unit must we use, this must then be in hours. Because you can't say kilometer per hour, but then convert it again and say now it's minutes or it's seconds. No, it will still be hours. So it means my conclusion will then be, therefore, T will be equals to 2 hours. This will be the time that it takes for both of them to actually pass each other, right, at a certain distance. Now, guys, to quickly summarize everything that we've looked at thus far, always make sure that you use the given information to write down the equation or the two equations. Now, I normally see people ignoring some things that we give them on the statement and they think they are not important. Please understand me. We will never give you a statement that is just useless for you to use. No, everything we write there needs to be used one way or the other. So make sure that you break down everything that is on that statement and make sure you give it either a variable or you make it an expression depending on what it is. So I've been using X and Y, and then I said, okay, now I'm talking about a pizza and a burger, let me just use P and B. So you can also do the same. The other thing is identify the type of equation. Remember, there is linear, right? And there is also quadratic. That's the one that we've been looking at the most. If it's linear, you can always use the elimination method. If it's quadratic, you can use either elimination. You can only use substitution, I mean. And then you can then look at it from there. Lastly, simplify the terms and then solve what they want you to solve. So guys, that's it. I hope you really enjoyed this. I know that at times word problems are a bit of a difficult thing to do because of all these things that they throw in there, but I promise you, as soon as you use a statement, just scratch it out so that it's not a lot and you know that I've used this. You go to the next statement, you use it, you scratch it out, and then you can work out what you want to do. Guys, I hope you had so much fun because I also did have fun doing this, and you saw you always need to go back to your calculator just to verify your answers. From me to you, the maths doctor, remember, mathematics is food for the soul. If you do it right, it will nourish your body. Until next time.